Well, yesterday I took a trip over to the Goodwill Distribution Center up in Hampton, and I wanted to see what they had. A few friends of mine have told me that they have a lot of computer towers there that are like bare bones. So when I went there, you know, it was kind of slim pickings, but then I noticed one of the workers there was bringing out 3 or 4 of these towers. So I decided to pick one up. This is an HP Pavilion with a AMD Phenom X4 64-bit CPU. Now, I started to make a video about this computer yesterday, but then I found out that this system, I believe, has a intermittent motherboard issue. I'll tell you guys what I did. I started to transfer some of the guts from my Dell Inspiron 530 to this computer. I transferred the hard drive and the memory over, and that was fine. It was when I took the video card out of my home theater PC, which is that big, beefy ATI Radeon 6670, and put in here, when the computer started to go haywire, it wouldn't post anymore. So I took everything back out yesterday, and I let it sit overnight. And sure enough, this morning, it's coming back up. Now, after that, I took the RAM out and tried to turn it back on because I wanted to see if it would give an error code. It wasn't even giving an error beep when the RAM was out, so I definitely think there's some issue with this motherboard, or at least there was. So, what are my plans for this computer going forward? Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the video card temporarily from this computer. This is only a Radeon HD 5450, so this shouldn't put too much stress on the motherboard. And then, at least for now, I'm going to take this 160 gigabyte hard drive out, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to try and install Windows 7. Now, once I do that, I can let it run for a few days and see if everything's okay. If it does turn out that there is a bad motherboard problem, in other words, if it's not intermittent, if it becomes consistent, I have a few things I can try to get this working properly again. But while I have the BIOS open, let's go ahead and I'll show you exactly what's in here. It is an AMD Phenom, or Phenom, however you guys want to say that, 9750 quad-core processor, running at 2.4 gigahertz. These are just some of the settings. It does have built-in FireWire, which I really, really like. If I can get this system working properly, then I can use it to upload footage from this, my Sony camcorder, which I'm filming with now, or my JVC mini DV camcorder. Memory-wise, right now, 4 gigabytes of DDR2 PC5300. Nothing super spectacular. You can see there's the information on it. The BIOS is from 42809. It's model number P6130Y. That's about it for the BIOS, and everything else you guys have seen already. So I'm going to exit out of here, and I'm going to go ahead and put that hard drive in, and we're going to go ahead and try to load Windows 7 on it. Okay. I now have the 160 gigabytes Samsung SATA hard drive and the ATI Radeon HD 5150 installed out of the Dell Inspiron 530. And now we're going to go ahead and boot this computer up and see if she'll fire. Something I found interesting about this computer, most of the time when you see SATA ports marked on a motherboard, it starts off with SATA 0 as the first one, then it goes 1, 2, and 3. This one, as you can see, the first one is actually marked SATA 1, so I'm not sure what they were thinking of there. It's kind of odd, but then again, you know, HP has odd equipment. Just thought that would be an interesting side note. Alright, now I have everything hooked up. Let's go ahead and do a try. Smoke test. It is engaging the monitor. That's a good sign. Let's go into the BIOS. Okay. Hasn't found any of the drives. That's kind of interesting because I do have the CD drive hooked up. Let's go ahead and reboot this real quick. Now that's odd. It's not finding any of the drives, even though they are plugged in, so that could be another issue. Probably motherboard related, more or less. Let's try it. Let's go into the setup one more time. Yeah, it's not finding any of my devices here. Yeah, because if you go to boot drive priority, you can look at hard drive group and it's not showing anything there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and look into this real quick and I'll be back in just a minute. Well, all of the SATA connections appeared to be plugged in properly. I just moved them from SATA 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. Just see if that makes a difference. This time I'll just let it boot up. We'll see what happens. Wow. Yeah, this time it's not even posting. So you know what? I'm definitely going to call it here. We got a bad motherboard. Alright, I'll be back with you guys in a minute. I'm going to show you what I'm going to try. Okay. Now that I have the motherboard out and pretty much everything removed, the last thing I have to remove is this plastic brace right here. You can probably guess as to, some of you could probably guess as to what I'm going to do next. That's right. This motherboard is going to go in the oven. I think what we're looking at here are some bad solder joints. So what I'm going to do is a old method that I learned many years ago, and it works for not just motherboards but for print server boards, pretty much anything that has a lot of solder joints that may be a little bit weak. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 7 or 8 minutes. And when I come back, we're going to go ahead and give it a try and see if that's fixed our problem. I'm not actually going to film that because my dad's downstairs watching TV and I think the copyright police will get me. So next time you'll see me, this motherboard will be fully cooked. See you in a few, everybody. Alright, so here is the motherboard after it's been in the oven. And you can see no problem whatsoever. Nothing's melted, nothing's really gotten damaged. There's the I/O ports. Everything looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and we'll go ahead and give it a try. One quick note, whenever removing a CPU and the heatsink, it's always a good idea to apply fresh thermal paste, which I'm going to do here. I've cleaned it off the CPU and inserted it back into its slot, and also cleaned it off the heatsink as well. The thermal paste on there was pretty shot, and even if it was in good shape, still a good idea to replace it any time you do work on a CPU, because the newer thermal paste will help it, dissipate heat better and keep everything running smoothly. One thing that's very important when you are putting the screws back in the motherboard, make sure you only do them finger tight and not that tight. Like when you feel resistance, one more turn and that's it. Because if you do it too hard, you can wind up bending the motherboard and then you're going to undo all of the work you did by baking it. Because if it is bad solder joints, which 9 times out of 10 it is, the motion of flexing the board will go ahead and break those solder joints again. So if you're going to go ahead and do this, just be really careful when you're putting the screws back in. Alright, the moment of truth is here. Did we totally destroy this computer? Did we do nothing? Or is it fixed? We're going to find out right now. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not looking good. Oh, wait a minute. Something's coming up here. Let's see. Let's go into F10, setup. See if it's seeing any drives whatsoever. Nope. Still having the same problem. It's not showing any drives plugged in whatsoever. And I know that they're plugged in because got plenty of power, got power to it, but it's not seeing anything. So it looks like this motherboard is probably toast. I'm going to work with it for a few more minutes just to see if we can get anything working, and I'll be back in just a minute. Well, I'm sorry to say, everybody, this motherboard is gone. It booted up a couple of times, still wouldn't find the any of the SATA drives, and now nothing. So I guess I'm out my $30 I paid for this system. Yeah, I'm not too upset about it because I'm going to look around and see if maybe I could find another motherboard for this. I already looked on eBay and they are just way too expensive. But I might be able to find something locally on Craigslist. But for now, this project is going to be put by the wayside because there is most definitely a major problem with this motherboard. Well, that's the way it is with computers. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this may not be the end of this project, but for now, I'm just going to upload the footage that I have. Until next time, have a blessed day, everybody.